Nothing in this podcast is intended as investment advice, and the people in this podcast may hold positions in the stocks they talk about. Do not buy any investment based solely on a tip or recommendation. Please do your own research.
Hello and welcome to the Sunday Roast. It's Sunday the 2nd of November. I'm Phil Carroll.
I'm Kevin Hornsby. Is it nearly the end of the year already?
November, it's the 2nd, mate. Where has it gone? It only feels like 2 minutes since last Christmas.
Yeah.
And here we are, Halloween out the way. We're looking to bonfire night on the 5th. Fireworks going off every night. I mean, how's your week been?
Just busy, to be honest. Been speaking with lots of different people, and I've just been very, very busy. It's lovely weather here, but I haven't really been experiencing it because I've been inside the whole time.
Yeah.
And you? What's been happening?
Mate, I've had a mental busy week in a different sense, not so much on the road side, but I mean, a strange one. It's kind of I run a car club down in the south, of course. And I was actually watching the breakfast news last week, and there was a news article that came on, an interview that really piqued my interest, and it was a guy called Mark Cody, who runs a company, a non-profit charity called Granbagini. Okay, now Granbagini, as you can imagine, I think you can deduce from the name, it involves grannies and Lamborghinis. Okay, and I think the idea came about when he was a young lad growing up, and his ambition was to always take his grandma out when he eventually realised the dream of buying a Lamborghini, and sort of give her some sort of basically she was into cars. Pay it forward and just give her an experience that she'd never forget. Unfortunately, she passed away a couple of years after he'd had the idea. Anyway, he basically came up with this idea of reaching out to owners of supercars in the north. He's based in Sheffield, and he put together Granbagini. And what he does is he gets owners to come along, give their cars up to him, or that they'll take these. They'll go to local care homes in Sheffield, and they'll take grandmas, granddads out. It doesn't have to be it's not just female, it's male. And they go out and they give them an experience. And like when you see some of the videos of Mark in the car with these grandmas and granddads, the smile on the faces, putting a community together. And I think it started off where they were raffling off these ability to go out these rides, and not many people were taking them. So anyway, but to cut a long story short, I reached out to Mark, so I run this car club, and said, if there's anything I can do to help you in the south of England with visiting any care homes with my members, let me know. Anyway, he reached out and said, thanks very much, I'll bear it in mind. A few days later, he sends me a WhatsApp message saying, Phil, I've got to go on this morning, tomorrow, in a car. Could you help me out? So I ended up making a few phone calls and arranged to him to get insured on one of the members' Lamborghinis, drove up to London, and basically met Mark at the Hilton. The ITV put us up in the Hilton, and he was with Betty and Rita. Now, Betty and Rita they're octogenarians in their 80s. Betty had never been to London before in her life. So you can imagine this, rocking up at the Hilton, big Lamborghini Huracan outside, this bright orange car. She was absolutely delighted. And then Rita was there, and I think Rita hadn't been to London since she was 14. So you can imagine the difference in 65 years since she'd last been down. So anyway, I jumped in the car, managed to get sorted on it, and I drove Rita in the morning to the London studios, and was greeted by Dermot O'Leary and Alison Hammond, who are the sort of presenters on there. And it was just incredible. Mark drove one of them, Betty, into the studios. If you have a look on Granbagini's socials, you'll see the video of the car going in, and it's just amazing. Like Betty was absolutely loving it. She was interviewed for about 5 minutes, and what an amazing experience, and what a great charity.
Yeah, it sounds like it was quite the event, and I mean, it's an experience that young and old will enjoy. I think going in these supercars. I think the people who own them somehow lose that, unfortunately, after a while when they've got them for a period of time. But then it's reborn when they see somebody else very excited about it, I think. So,
I remember sitting Rita in the car and getting her to fire it up. And then I said, go on then, put your foot on the accelerator and rev it. And she put it all the way down to she basically floored it. and it was off the limiter in this like underground car park in London, and her heart, she was like holding on to her heart, but she was like, wow, you know, it was exhilarating to see, and I was like a little bit concerned that she'd overcooked it on the rev, but she was fine, you know. And then in the morning I managed to take her out, and she was absolutely loving it. And you know, when you drive these cars, you do feel like, she even said to me, you feel like a rock star or a film star when you're being driven around in these cars. So yeah, amazing to see some happiness put back into these lives. And a lot of them do live in a lot of solitude as they get older. So it's all about this sense of community that Mark's creating with Lamborghini. So a big shout out to Mark Cody at Lamborghini. I'm going to send in the link to the podcast and you can have a little listen. But yeah, and a short look at the news stories, Kev. There's not a lot to talk about this week, but there's a couple of things that are interesting.
Yeah, let's quickly do it.
Okay, so Donald Trump again, visit to South Korea, made quite the way he made with Xi Jinping. What is the big takeaway? Well, they managed to agree on easing some tariffs and reopening some trade channels, especially around agricultural goods. Apparently, the soybean deal was done. So it's a small step, but I guess it's a sign of a little bit of a thaw in the US-China trade relations. Any comments on that?
They both know that they have to deal with each other, right? They both know this. Whatever Trump wants to shout about and be brash about, the Chinese are the complete opposite. It's not in their nature to be brash and shout about things. They will do it the way they do it, but they need to cooperate with each other. Simple as that. And China has a much greater advantage than the US, in my view, in certain areas, and the US has a much greater advantage in certain other areas. So yeah, it was inevitable. There was a lot of shouting from Trump over the last few months. 100% tariff on this, 100% tariff on that. And yeah, ultimately, he can't afford to do that because he's penalizing the American people he did, and he knows he is. But it is what it is.
Absolutely. Ceasefire in Gaza is still hanging by a thread. Things are quieted. Diplomats are cautioning that it's a very fragile situation. At any small spark could set off tension. So it's kind of uneasy calm right now. Let's see what happens out there. And then this one, big from this side of the pond, Rachel Reeves obviously is facing criticism. I don't know if you saw this, over renting out a London property without the relevant license while being Chancellor. There are many calls for her to step down or at least address the controversy. So that's adding a bit of political heat for her this week. I mean, we obviously saw about a month ago Angela Rayner resigning over her lack, or let's say underpaying stamp duty on her Brighton apartment. What do you make of this, Kev? I mean, as Chancellor, should Reeves have known better? Should she have known that she needed a license to rent out this property in West London?
Yeah, I think she knew she needed a license, or if she didn't know, it seems like the estate agent has fallen on their sword for her anyway, in terms of, sorry, it was our fault, even though we don't always do this for our clients. We had assumed, and in the emails we'd done it. But I mean, it's when politics comes to this level of issues, then you've got a problem on your hands, haven't you? It's not about the issue, is it? It's a minor administration thing, and they're calling for someone's head. Why are they calling for someone's head? Because she's about to basically put another huge tax burden on the United Kingdom, which it can't afford. It just simply can't afford it. And the potential that they've got growth in the UK. Well, Labour is so anti-growth, it couldn't be even explained. I mean, we're losing millionaires like they're going out of fashion.
Yeah.
We've increased the burden on companies to employ people. So, how are you going to have a growth situation in this scenario? You're not. No. And they want to effectively tax the rich more. I mean, it keeps bringing me back to this thing about there's a group of people go to the pub to drink, and they're all in different economic stratas. So some very high net worth people who are paying the highest rate tax. There's then a few people who are paying nominal tax. Then there is a few people who are not taxpayers at all, and they decide they're going to split the drinking bill in exactly that way. Okay, yeah. So the guy who's earning a huge amount of money ends up paying a huge amount of the bill. Then the next group pay a fair amount of the bill. People who are paying no tax pay nothing, so they just drink. Then there is a tax reduction 1 week, and the tax reduction comes in, and obviously that means that the high rate taxpayer is now paying significantly less than they did before. And the other taxpayers are paying less, and then the non-taxpayers are paying nothing still. So the non-taxpayers start talking to each other and say, they've all saved money, and we haven't saved anything. But we're still drinking our drinks for free. And they start ganging up on the high rate taxpayers, saying, you're paying less now than you were before. This situation just isn't fair. So obviously what happens next? High rate taxpayer is very upset. He doesn't come back next week. What happens? The next group of people now have to pay significantly more, because he was paying like 40% of the bill. The normal taxpayers have to pay more as well. And the non-taxpayers still pay nothing. But now the other taxpayers are saying, but you're paying nothing. You need to pay something.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether I've transmitted that story well.
Yeah,
but
makes sense. And then the middleweight payers will gang up on the ones who are paying nothing. So you need to get out because you're not paying anything, and effectively it just leaves one tax group.
Yeah, which is effectively what is happening in the United Kingdom, and maybe it's happening all over the world as well. But that's what's happening in the United Kingdom. So the middle classes are going to be left with the total bill. The total bill's too big, and the United Kingdom cannot afford it. It's as simple as that. So yeah. Okay, so we welcome our first guest, Rory Maxwell, CEO of Priority Intelligence. Welcome, Rory.
I'm well, thanks, Kevin. Good morning.
Yep, good morning. Just to give listeners an overview of Priority AI, it is a London-listed company that's blending advanced artificial intelligence, solutions, and big data with a unique digital asset strategy. They're on the cutting edge of merging AI-powered SaaS offerings and big data with a Bitcoin treasury approach, aiming to deliver both technical innovation and financial resilience for themselves and for other SMEs. Is that a fair summation of what you're trying to do?
Yeah, I think that's a reasonably fair summation, Kevin. Yeah. Look, ultimately, the Priority business is focused on unlocking engagement at scale for customer-centric organizations and SMEs, as you outlined, ultimately through a suite of AI tools that are specifically and custom trained on our clients' data. And that is supported by a human operation, service-built integrated services to enable our clients to also embed that data and embed that technology into their workflows so that they see direct results of that in helping grow their operations, grow their revenues, and grow their reach through their marketing. So yeah, that's I think we've summarized the positioning of the business correctly.
Good. So it's fair to say then there's always different parts of a revolution, and I'm talking about AI as being a revolution. There are the NVIDIAs, which are the chip makers of the world, and also that we are then talking about the large language model companies, OpenAI, Grok, whatever. I don't even know all the names. But really, what I've seen in different industries is that, if you like, the shovel makers, which is the people who try and help the companies use AI productively, are the ones who are also very successful. So I put you in that category. I don't know whether you agree or not, but please tell us what you think.
I do agree with that, Kevin. So obviously the principal elements of the business are to provide to a very scalable number of businesses core business operations AI tools that help to drive efficiency and improve the operations of those businesses from a more automated perspective. That's the primary basis on which our product portfolio exists. And to integrate those products into those workflows to improve efficiency and optimization. Now, I would totally agree with what you've just said. And it's a really important positioning for the company moving forward, is to ensure that the technology that is deployed and the data that we are processing within that technology is then being utilized by those companies to drive value into their operations. whether that be supporting their marketing or supporting their commercial efforts in identifying new partnerships, whatever it might be, or better targeting their potential customers. That is how we really see the value and the kind of long-term relationships with the clients that we want to have, is ensuring that we embed this technology into their workflows. So that requires a really good balance between a strong product portfolio that is both affordable but also readily accessible to a large scale of potential customers, alongside a human operation that is there to ensure that the AI tools that we are deploying and the data that we are processing is being done accurately and therefore embedding itself into the workflows of our customers. So that marries up the SaaS related kind of product side of the business alongside a services side of the business to do exactly what you just said there at the top of that question, which was to look at marrying not just technology deployment, but a service offering alongside that. And that's what we are really trying to focus on growing the priority business to achieve. And a big reason for that is it will help us diversify our revenues as well. It will give us a really strong foundation of driving scale with affordably priced AI tools, but alongside that, that stickiness with clients, that strong entrenchment into their operations through the services side, which also gives us a really broad basis on which to drive revenues across the business.
Very good. So Rory, let's look at, I think there's sort of like a three-stool approach or three-legged stool within priority. And then on top of that, you've got a Bitcoin treasury as well. So let's first of all talk about the priority AI, which is what it came to the market with initially. Tell us a little bit about that and how you see revenues growing in that part of the business.
The priority AI side of the business captures what I've been referring to in terms of our focus on SaaS related revenues, high scale, high volume clients taking on affordably priced AI suite of tools that are built specifically to use the data that is owned by our clients, and then allow those clients to automate their analytics through a natural language querying interface. And there's a variety of different products there that sit within priority AI. That was obviously that, priority came to the market back at the end of 2024, and that's been the principal product focus there. The group collectively obviously now encapsulates two other operating companies, because Priority acquired Halfspace. That's the second operating company, which focuses more on the data consultancy and the marketing services that we've been talking about. And then thirdly, a partnership collaboration business called Metric, which we launched in August, which is really to help clients use their data to identify commercial partners. So those are the three core elements of the enlarged group. And as I said, Priority AI specifically really oversees the development and the SaaS related revenue driving activities of the AI suite of tools that we have. And those variety of those different tools, from Priority Advisor, focusing on community management, through to Sonar, which is looking at community management on social media and social media engagement analytics. And then you have other products as well, such as Priority Vox, which is our automated voice agent as well, and further products to come in due course. But effectively, that suite of products within Priority AI, very affordably priced, readily accessible to be scaled across multiple different SMEs, and all of those products play a really key role in just helping operationally those clients operate more efficiently, because community management takes place on social media, but it takes place across all other digital channels as well. Same as deploying Vox as a voice agent to help with customer service and customer management solutions. These are products built to help the different operations that our clients have in engaging with their customer base. And that's really where the Priority AI sort of focus is on rolling out that SaaS operation within the group.
Okay, so that's Priority AI. Let's move on to Halfspace. You've obviously been involved with Halfspace for a number of years. Tell us the type of clients you've been dealing with and where you see the revenue coming and revenue growth coming from Halfspace.
Yeah, so Halfspace was founded in 2018 by myself and my co-founders, Sanjit and Steve, and operated for 7 years until the acquisition by Priority at the beginning of the summer of 2025. And Halfspace had a really successful operation predominantly in the sports sector, the sport and entertainment sector. And that operation was built around providing, across the sports sector, leading edge data management technology as a managed service, but alongside that, the integration of marketing services, digital marketing services, such as creative services and paid media and customer targeting, so that we could ensure that the clients we worked with in sport actually physically used their data to drive growth in their revenues, be that through sponsorship, be that through ticketing revenues, be that through retail revenues. So I think important to understand the context behind Halfspace. We launched into the sports sector specifically because A, we had a lot of experience in it, but B, the sports sector is built around a business model that's based on audience engagement at scale. Everything that makes money in the world of sport is built around audience engagement, looking at sponsorship, media rights, ticket sales, retail sales, and content distribution digitally. All of it requires a really strong understanding of who your customers and who your fans are around the world. And we felt there was a really good opportunity within Halfspace to deploy more advanced, more innovative technology into the space so that we could help the clients we work with in sport realize those growth opportunities by understanding more about their fan base. So that was the focus on the sports space. Now, where that becomes obviously important from a priority perspective is that, firstly, the sports sector as a vertical in its own right is basically entirely made up of SMEs. Really, all sports organizations are kind of in that sort of SME kind of sector and relatively under-resourced in the areas of technology and the areas of digital marketing and how to use data effectively. So that continues to give Halfspace a great opportunity to grow using the suite of products that Priority AI have, because we believe there is significant demand and significant opportunity for that suite of AI solutions to be rolled out into the sports sector. But it also enables Halfspace to build on the foundation that it's built over 7 years of operating in the sports sector by innovating and expanding the quality of the products that we're able to offer our clients as well in areas such as the automation of their data and insights to understand more about their customers, and the bringing together of multiple different data sets that are often siloed and independently contracted into centralized owned platforms that they can therefore better harness. And that's really allowing us to make better use of the priority tools to help enable that. So to bring that round in, we bring the priority business a really scalable sector from a sports perspective, sport and entertainment. And equally, we enhance the product offering that Halfspace had into that sector. And we're talking about a customer base there that is built around a variety of different businesses, such as football clubs, rugby clubs, international federations, and governing bodies of sport, but also digital media businesses that we have worked with, content operations, fitness and direct-to-consumer app-related businesses as well.
And Rory, who are your clients right now? Who are your clients within Halfspace? You talk about football, rugby, federations. Who are they that you could name?
I can't go into lots of detail on that because I would have to, to obviously get our clients' approval to be able to publicly name them. Correct. But and look, some of that information is publicly available anyway. It's not being released formally as RNSs, but history is there for people to see. And we've worked with a variety of different clients across sports, such as horse racing, extensively in football with Premier League clubs. We have worked in the sport of golf considerably, in tennis, and working into a number of other sports as well. Lots in motorsport, particularly in the area of digital media and with publishers and content owners. So there's a variety of different businesses there that over the years Halfspace has worked with and continues to work with as we kind of move forward within the Priority Intelligence Group.
So are you the reason why, as supporters of football clubs, we're likely to pay more for our ticket, because ultimately you're doing the marketing and understanding that people can pay more for it?
We don't set the prices, Kevin. That's
a cop out, Rory. But I accept.
Look, maybe it's a cop out. We're unfortunately definitely not at sort of that level of the price setting. But what we do try to do is to help these clubs grow their fan bases, and look, not all the clubs, unlike perhaps the top six of the Premier League, are lucky enough to ensure that they have 100% stadium utilization for every single match of their entire season. The vast majority of clubs, are not in that position, and we work with some of those clubs, and we can help ensure that they grow those fan bases so that new audiences are coming into the sport. And obviously that's important for all of these organizations that we work with. They've got to grow their engagement with new audiences. That's what will ultimately keep them alive over the long term.
So how do you make revenue from those type of things within Halfspace?
So from a space perspective, really comes down to a couple of areas. It is built on retained contracts to deploy technology and manage the implementation of that technology. So that's a retained base kind of operation that we operate under. And then the additional element of the income stream then is built into how we help clients use that data. And that can be much more orientated towards specific campaigns, such as a campaign to drive directly ticket sales or retail sales, which will be built around the marketing budgets that they have available. It can also be deployed into their sponsors and their sponsor activities, so that we help those clients use the data to land, bring in more deals, bring in new sponsors, but also activate against those sponsors based on the marketing budgets that those brands and those partners have. So that's the sort of more variable aspect, if you like. The marketing services side of it is much more campaign orientated and project-based revenue, if you can call it that. But obviously it requires the human expertise to really deploy the data so that it's adding value into those operations. And then that, as I said, that sits alongside a variable to a retainer-based model, which is built around the deployment of technology. And the variable on that is typically, the processing of data volume is ultimately the variable there.
Okay, very good. So we have Priority AI, we have Halfspace. What's the third leg? Explain it to us.
Third leg is Metric. And Metric is a platform that has been launched to help the clients we work with identify commercial partners using their own data to do that. So what we mean by that is that we work with a variety of different organizations. It includes potentially those in sport, but equally we are working quite extensively in the music and the entertainment space at the moment. And we help clients process large volumes of data, particularly data built around how audiences engage with them as a business, and then understand what those audiences are also interested in elsewhere in their everyday lives. And that opens up partnership opportunities for the clients that we work with to bring in advertisers and brand partners, if you like, to leverage the assets that our clients have in music or in sport from a commercial perspective to further their own businesses as well and grow their own customer bases. So it's really a business built around helping unlock partnerships and then unlock value from those partnerships with data at the heart of it.
Okay, very good. So underneath, on top, whatever way you want to put it, you also have a Bitcoin treasury where you bought 5 Bitcoins effectively, or 500 million of the PR1 bit or whatever it was called. How do you see that functioning within the operation?
Yeah, it was launched relatively recently. I can't go into the details of exactly the size of the treasury and how much was purchased, but the pre-bit is there as a product that gives us a facility in which we can help our clients transact on Bitcoin. It is obviously a growing area, particularly within the sport and entertainment space as well. There are gradually an increasing number of clubs and operations that are prepared to offer kind of fan engagement solutions using Bitcoin and cryptocurrency as a mechanism for fans to engage with clubs or engage with music operations and music organizations, etc. So Prebit sits there as a product that our clients can tap into if they wish to use Bitcoin as a primary transaction currency. Then we can now facilitate that. And it was launched relatively recently, as you know. It's a potentially growing area, and we have a position there that we can look to exploit in the future.
Okay, very good. So overall, we have 160 million shares in issue, with currently a share price of just over 2p, market cap around £4 million. For all of this spade work, if you like, that you've got, do you think you're undervalued or over?
Well, I can't. The obvious answer would be to that we have great growth opportunity ahead of us, Kevin. I mean, that's what it ultimately boils down to. The market will value it and what it feels, and I'm not going to comment on that too closely. Our job is to grow the business, and if we do that, and I believe we will do that very successfully, then the share price will take care of itself. We've got really good growth ambitions ahead of us and a great platform on which to grow. And I think that was the key message that came out of the RNS that we released, just earlier this week. We've just completed our FY25 to September. We go into FY26 with a strong foundation of paying clients and a really great opportunity to grow, given the products that we have at our disposal and the products that we are coming to market with, and the operations that we've now got across the group in terms of a dedicated sales team across the 3 opcos, a good client team and a good product team, all with the suitable resource and investment they need to grow. So we're really excited and confident going into FY26 that we will, as a business, start to post some really good growth. We hope that those are absolutely revenues that meet the aspirations of current investors and future investors, and therefore puts the enlarged group on a really strong trajectory moving forward that will ensure that share price grows significantly. That's obviously our objective here, clearly, but that will, I'm very, very confident, take care of itself as we look to release to the market lots of positive news about the growth of the Intelligence Group.
Good, excellent answer. Now, when you come to revenues, we've had 9 months, we've had £500,000 worth of revenue, which was below what I expected it to be brutally honest with you, especially since some of Halfspace revenue was in that. What can we expect in full year 26? I'm not asking for a number, but £500,000 is not a significant amount of money in terms of this space. Can we see that will grow by factors, do you think, over the next year?
Yeah, look, that is of course the intention, is to ensure that we grow significantly, Kevin. We are revenue driving. That's a really important kind of point to emphasize as a business. That can't be said of obviously everybody on AIM and equally many other businesses in the similarly small businesses in the AI space as well. So importantly, we are revenue driving. That 9 months, yeah, has been during a period of establishing the platform on AIM, newly listed and everything that goes with that. So actually, from a board perspective, we felt that was a number that was broadly in line with our expectations. But as I sort of said to you on the answer before, I really think it's more about the foundation that's been laid to grow moving forward. And when we've got contracted customers across those 3 opcos within the enlarged group, we're in a really strong position to grow going forward in FY26. And that's what we're going to be working really hard to ensure that we achieve. I'm confident we will. And there's a healthy pipeline, and hopefully we will be in a position that in the fullness of time over the coming weeks and months, we'll be able to put some really positive news into the market. So confident of growth, absolutely. I can't say it more categorically than that. And we will obviously be working extremely hard to meet the ambitions and expectations of all of the shareholders and prospective investors from now moving forward.
Yeah, of which I'm a big one. Okay. The last thing I'm going to cover with you is something you probably can't say, but it has to be said because of the elephant in the room. Primora's basically shafted all of the shareholders that are involved with PR1 by not sticking to their agreement to not sell their shares for 12 months and then subsequently a 12-month situation. Other company ultimately going to let them get away with this because it seems AIM have no teeth whatsoever in terms of putting these things in place. Can you say anything at all?
As we stated in our release, Kevin, we are taking legal advice, and given the fact that there could be pending legal proceedings, we can't comment. I can't comment any further than that on what will happen, so that we ensure that in no way do we prejudice any potential next steps. The company is taking advice on that situation, and as soon as we have further updates that we are legally able to share with shareholders and the wider market, then we will do so. But obviously we can't speculate. That would prejudice any processes.
Yeah, well, speaking as a shareholder and as many other people who I know who are shareholders, I do not want them to get away with it. We don't have a market if somebody gets away with these type of things. Legally speaking, they shouldn't have done it. They seem to have got away with it. Obviously, if you're telling me there's still legal proceedings, then maybe they don't. Anyway, I know you can't say anything else, so please don't say anything else. Right, from the point of view of you are on the Sunday roast, it's your first occasion on the Sunday roast, we have to ask you the Sunday roast questions. First question is, what is a Sunday roast in the Maxwell household?
In the Maxwell household, well, it takes a variety of different different roasts. Oh, with my kids front of mind, I think their favorite is a roast chicken, and we intersperse that with lamb or beef at various points as well, just for the good sake of variety, Kevin. So all areas covered.
But what is your favorite?
My favorite is roast beef.
Okay. How rare are we going?
Oh, pretty rare.
And are we talking about the creamed horseradish, or are we going for the full Monty, make you cry?
Full Monty horseradish, without question.
I don't get this. It has to be the creamed one for me, but anyway, not to worry. And are you a small amount of gravy, or let's have Noah's flood on the plate?
I'm actually a relatively small amount. I can't say that for the rest of my family who put a flood, but I'm a relatively small amount.
Okay, you must be a southerner then, obviously. Okay, and then the final question we will ask you is, what's the best piece of advice that you've ever been given? It can be in any part of your life, and who gave it to you?
Gosh, good question. I wouldn't say who gave it to me, because it's come from a number of different people in a sort of variety of different areas over the years. But I think, and it probably comes ultimately with a bit of experience and call it sort of time in the hot seat, whatever hot seat that may be. But I have learned over the years that I think it rings true, and that is to trust your intuition and trust your gut sometimes. And more often than not, when I haven't done that, I've wished I had. And there can be a variety of different occasions in which you sit there and you think about it deep down, what is the right thing to do, and you've got a certain amount of information in front of you. But ultimately, I think if you know your business well, you know your product well, and you know your market well, your gut feeling, your intuition is often quite well informed, actually. And I wish on a number of occasions in the past that I had trusted it more. But maybe that comes, well, I should be careful what I say, Kevin. Maybe that comes with more grey hairs, but you've got more than I have.
I have white hair now, not grey. The only good news is I've kept all my hair, but now it's white.
Well, it's true. I'm gradually losing mine, but it's still staying the right colour.
Indeed. No, but I agree with you. With experience, we should follow maybe gut, heart, whatever. I think we don't go too far wrong if we follow those things. So yeah, it's good. It's good advice for anybody. Okay, Rory, thank you very much. And we look forward to speaking to you ongoing as hopefully you're going to come up with lots of big revenue deals that is going to make this share price look like it's an absolute bargain. So good luck.
Thanks, Kevin. Good to talk to you.
Okay, so I'd like to welcome our second guest today, who's Lars Goldstrand from Cindrigo. And as you know, I'm not very good at pronouncing things, so this is a real mouthful for me. Welcome, sir. How are you?
Fine, thank you. And it's Cindrigo, but that's fine. It was close enough.
Okay. We should say CINH is your ticker for anybody who's interested in checking it out, sticking on the watch list, or even buying the shares. CINH. Okay, to repeat that. So you are an IPO on the UK stock market. Hallelujah, praise the Lord, literally, because we haven't had too many of them in the last 3 years. I think we're going to have a lot more, but it's good that you have come onto the London market. So tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us a little bit about Cindrigo. And yeah, let's take it from there.
Yeah. No, I say the company Cindrigo has a background in the renewable energy sector. And we have worked for, I say, many years into this. We originally came out of this, a few persons on investing into a company that was building biomass clean energy plants, but then wanted to move up in the value chain a bit because we saw that the opportunity in the market for renewable energy and to be more of an operator and a producer of energy. That's how we came into projects, primarily initially in waste energy. And we also had a very close cooperation with China Energy on the development on this, and had projects ready to go, quite aggressive in a market that both had a need for energy, for taking care of the household waste as a part of the incineration. So we were actually ready to go to a listing in Canada some years ago, and were approached then by a company in London of doing an RTO instead, which we then executed. And long story short, we were ready to go, and our main market at that time was Ukraine. And then the war happened in Ukraine, so we had a pretty large setup where we had to suspend the core of the business, and have now for 3 years pretty much reworked the model. And we had already started into geothermal, and this was a long introduction on where we are today. So today, with that history, that background, we have built now a strong platform in geothermal, focusing Europe, avoiding country risk, and then primarily into Germany, which is one of the most attractive market, I would say, for geothermal. We also have operating plants in waste energy in Finland, but that's waste incineration of forestry wood waste. So renewable energy, waste energy, geothermal, license areas, some 400 megawatt that we are targeting to expand into this. My background is broader, from industry, business, and media technology, and for the last 10 years also invested in energy. A background then from an international perspective, different things, and been heading up different listed companies in media, technology, and finance, and so on. And for the last 10 years, focused a lot into this project, and now take it to the point where we are today with a listing. But expect, of course, a pretty good growth going forward, and will intend to stay with the company definitely going forward.
Very good. So tell us a little bit more then about the process that you went through for the IPO, the biomass in Finland, and then we'll move on and talk about the other stuff in Germany.
But the process, as I said, was that we did the RTO, and then when we were pretty much ready to go, everything changed. So we then had to suspend it all and start it over with a new application process that we started some year ago, I would say, then for the London listing. And at that time, we were targeting main board standard listing, but then when these were merged last summer into one list, we then, in a dialogue with FCA, they recommended us, or urged us pretty much, to go for the higher segment equity shares commercial in the new structure of the London Stock Exchange. So we started that process more actively, I would say, end of last year. We had started it already around summer, but so for this 6, 8, 9 months, then together with our sponsor, then VCL, who's been very supportive and helpful into this. But felt that for what we are doing in the development business, we really appreciated to have this premium position, which was an important part in our continued expansion, primarily in Germany. Then Finland is fully financed and ready, but in Germany, there will be significant amounts needed to continue and grow and develop the German market. So the combination with the Finland operating plant that is set to start operation around year end today, we will have a solid cash flow from Finland. We have the main board listing in the premium site of London Stock Exchange. These two components to support the debt findings we're looking for in the beginning of next year and onwards. So that is the structure, and of course it's been a long journey. There is, as you know, a lot of regulatory requirements and higher than in most other places to meet this. So we're happy that we have passed that needle's eye right now, and that we are ready to go and hope for a good success and development of it.
Good. So tell us about the actual project then in Finland. What was it to become a biomass processing facility? And give us an idea of the infrastructure that is, I believe it's leased for 50 years. So just tell us a bit more about that.
In Finland, we have then purchased a biomass plant incinerating forestry wood waste. So with that, then producing heat and power. It's a 50-year lease, and the plant have been operating, but been standstill for some years. It was, I would say, the energy heart for one of the leading forestry and paper mill companies, UPM Kymmene, one of the largest companies on that sector and one of the Fortune 500. So this has produced heat and power for their paper mill that was doing newspaper. And when they closed down this due to, I assume, the paper production for newspaper has gone down, then there was a real estate company buying this asset, and we have then been able to negotiate a deal of managing and taking care of this. I would say it is like it's ours. A 50-year lease is a pretty long term, and we are responsible for all the development and activities and control the asset fully. So that plant then is dependent on off-takers for heat, and there are some companies in the process of building a new pellet factory that we will be our main customer, where we would sell the heat that we would produce. In combination with that heat, we then also produce power. So the plan is that they announced that they would be ready at the end of the year, and then we will start full scale of this plant. For the year and a half that we have owned it, we have then made a lot of repair work and then reviewed it in total. So it's a 110 megawatt plant. If you look at it, we have tried to assess it is that a replacement cost of a plant this style, including the adjacent equipment and so on, should be in the 250 million euro range. And if you look at it as it stands, we assess the depreciated asset value around 100 million euros, plus minus some 20%. But the real value to us is, of course, to start to generate the energy. So the plan then is out of the 110 megawatt, we will start with pretty much 30% capacity, some 30 to 40 megawatt, whereof then some 25 to 30 megawatt would be heat, and some 5 to 10 megawatt would be power. The heat, as I said, we will sell to local process industry and small degree on the neighboring village for winter heating and for the industry area as well. All the power produced, we are selling to the grid, and then through Nord Pool, who is the trading platform in a large part of Europe. So we sell all electricity to the grid, and where we then deliver at a spot price structure into it. So the main driver of revenue there would be the heat sale that we're doing. And the plan for the pellet factory is that they will continue and grow over the year. So our objective is, of course, expand these 30% up to as close to 100 as possible. It will not happen overnight, but the pellet factory is intending to doubling their production next year, and thereafter, hopefully, we could add more customers to continue and get the finished plant.
So Lars, from the wood waste, how's the finances behind that? Do you receive the wood waste for free, or do you pay the people for the wood waste, or do they have to pay you to take it away?
No, we pay. So we pay the wood waste, which are combination, I would say, of wood waste and maybe timber could it be as well, and then we crushes it and then prepare it and we burn it, so to say. So that, yes, there is a cost associated with it.
Okay, but that's minimal compared to what you will receive, obviously, in terms of the other end.
We would hope so.
You would hope
yes.
so, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you won't
that's
be doing
the plan.
So, how much, if you had to start this plant from scratch, would the infrastructure be worth?
I said, as it is then depreciated, I would say around 100 million, and a replacement value around 250 million euros.
Okay, so we are talking with a market cap of sort of 40 million pounds that you've come to the market with. Then even the actual assets, granted you don't own them, but a 50-year lease is not far off owning them ultimately. You know, those assets themselves are worth a considerable amount of money in being able to generate income for the business.
Sure, but also to be clear, it is not our, as you said, assets. So on the balance sheet, it's a lease, but since we have them for 50 years, the benefit of such an investment, of course, we manage, and we have not had to pay neither the 100 nor 250 million. We purchased this lease for just shy of 20 million. So I think we have a pretty good, hopefully, return on such an investment, since we get all the benefit of the operating benefit out of it without having the technical asset on the balance sheet.
Yeah, indeed. Understood. Okay, so from a revenue point of view, you expect that this will start to create revenue from when? And I don't know whether you can tell me the magnitude, probably not at this stage, but give us an idea of when and how much, if you can.
No, but as we said, that we are a bit dependent on when the off-taker of heat are ready, and they have indicated that they should be ready by the end of this year. So our plan is that we would start before year end, but real revenue, I would say, would be in 26, where you would have hopefully then a full year of operation. We will, as I said, produce some 30% of the capacity to start with, which would be some 25 megawatt of heat. And with a pellet factory, they work year around. So you should have some 8,000 hours on it, on the megawatt hours then. The price we have discussed and negotiated with the pellet factories that we would get paid some 60 euro per megawatt hour. And then for the electricity, which would be other than these 25-ish heat, would be an 8 to 10 power. And there we will follow the market. And that's also, of course, 8,000 hours. It's a 3-shift, so it's a 24/7 operation on it. So there we follow the market price, which varies quite large, anything from 0 to 200 euros per megawatt hour. But I would say that if you look at it on average, it's some 40, 50 euros that if you look an average over a year for the latter period.
So say it to me again, 25,000
25 megawatt time 8,000 hours. And then an assumed price, as we said, around 60. Then, of course, it has to do with how much the pellet factory really operate. Normally, if you would produce heat, you would go down in summertime because you heat up and you use the heat in the winter primarily. But normally on a factory like the pellet industry, they would operate year-round because they need to produce their pellet products for the winter sales. So they will operate during summer as well to produce their stock to sell the pellet for other biofuel heat or residential or whatever it is.
Yeah, I must have done my maths wrong. I think unless this is right, but that's 12 billion euros a year. But I'm pretty sure that's not correct.
But you say 12 million?
No, billion.
Oh, that's a bit aggressive.
So we're 25 times 8,000 times 60. Yes, 12 million euros.
In that magnitude would be assuming that they will be the takers, assuming that these prices would be there, assuming that they would have a full year-round operation. But we are dependent on the taker of the offtake, and we're starting out at the low capacity and have, of course, opportunity to increase this up to the 110 megawatt capacity as the plant would have. So there could be, of course, deviations into it.
So based on those numbers you've said, it's 12 million euros of revenues, basically. Obviously, that's not profit, not cash flow, because obviously there's going to be costs involved, including your lease and all the other things. But as you scale up, you intend that this biomass in Finland is going to help you to partially fund what's going on in Germany, which is what we're going to now talk about in terms of the thermal power. So yeah, let's just park that one for 1 second and move on to the ability to create up to 300 megawatts in Germany through heat and steam power. And biothermal resource, which I haven't really been involved with much before. So give us an idea of the overview before we talk about what's happening in Germany.
No, and geothermal, to simplify it, is that you drill a well to where you find really hot water resources or reservoirs. And then there are different places around the world that's where it's deeper to find it or where it's more shallow. I think everybody would understand if I would say Iceland. We know that there are a lot of hot activities close to the surface in Iceland. That's also why Iceland, on a very large degree, on both their heat and power, is generated out of geothermal activities into it. We are then focusing primarily, and in this case, the licenses that we have are in Germany. We expect that we will drill some 4,000 meters approximately. And with these 4,000 meters, we then expect to find the hot reservoirs. Of course, there is a lot of research done and a lot of studies and development into it. Our license areas are 3 license areas in Upper Rhine Valley, where it's estimated some 400 megawatt reservoir or resource, and we planned for 300. There is always a spill into it, some 70% of it. So then you drill till you find the depth, which then is estimated some 4,000 meters here. Then you get hot water and a lot of brine and others up, and that hot water you then convert either into district heating for a village, or you do heat or steam to the process industry into it. Second phase of this is that of the brine is used to get the brine, but in the brine you get then out of this, it's also a very lithium rich area. So we will then extract the lithium out of the brine coming up, and then that then converted into lithium hydroxide that we then would sell to the lithium industry, the battery industry, primarily close then to the car industry in Germany. So the first revenue stream would be the heat, the second would be the lithium, and then we add some further installations to then convert with steam turbines and other into power as well. So a unit in like this, you could say with one production well, then we have a re-injection well, because everything we get up, we re-inject, so we don't leave anything in the environment, or so we put it back into the reservoir to also have a longer lifetime on them with a very small dilution of it. And then you build the machinery on top of this, so to say, where you produce the heating, extract the lithium, and in the second phase also the power out of it. A unit like this, you say each of the wells would be in the magnitude of 10 million cost. So you would have 10 million for production well, 10 million for the re-injection well, and then you would have the cost of some 30 million of building the heat production unit, and thereafter another 10 to 15 million to build a power unit on this. So the first phase of 50 million is then supported strongly from the German government, because they are in a strong need for base load energy. Today, as you probably have followed, Germany has a primarily fossil fuel for their baseload energy, and they don't have any other of these clean, with high capacity factor baseloads like nuclear and others. That's why there is a very strong support from the German government in the geothermal. They've set a target for 10 terawatt geothermal coming 5 years. So that's why we are looking at this as a main area, to give you a background on the structure of it and how it works and how we would see the development. There are already plenty of geothermal wells drilled, so it's a good track record on how the geology is. Of course, we and others have done significant research studies on three-dimensional and geo and so on to prepare for the drilling. So we hopefully drill at the right place where there is these temperatures that we would need, over 100 degrees, preferably for the power. And of course, you could do less than 100 degrees Celsius for the heat, but we are targeting them to be above 100 degrees Celsius so that we can also produce power in these projects.
So basically, we're looking for pools of boiling water, basically, is what you're
to simplify it.
Yeah, and in terms of your ability to hit this, you're pretty sure geologically that the water is there, and if it is there, what sort of quantum are we talking about? How long will these geothermal pools last?
I would say that they last very long. There are many geothermal plants today that's over 50 years. But on the financial planning, we use 30 years in our methodology, but I assume they could be even longer. So if you look at this on a unit like this, we assume we'll have some around 30 megawatt of heat, some 5, give or take, megawatt of power, and we assume it's with around 300 to 700 tons of lithium. Let's say on average there's some 500. So that's if you would look on this. So then if you then back to your previous question on 300 megawatt, that would then facilitate 10 such units in the license area that we control today and have in the partnership. We own 85% of these license areas in partnership with another company.
Okay, very good. So, I mean, Germany is desperate for this, obviously, having its most of its load based on gas coming from Russia. So from a grant perspective or a government perspective, both licenses and financially helping you, do you have any details on how that would work?
It's, as you said, strongly supported, and I must say German government are walking the talk. Not just say that they want 10 terawatt in 5 years. They are then supporting it strongly And to us then, especially with the history we had of the hiccup in Ukraine way back, we felt that the country credit rating governance has been very important. And Germany, of course, as we all know, is a very solid market. We also know that in Europe there are a few good spots where you don't need to drill too deep and where you in addition to geological very attractive, you add with the German government's attractiveness into it, why we prioritize Germany. So what they are doing is that when you're up and running, you would have a very favorable power tariffs. They give you a 20-year guaranteed government purchase of all the power produced to the German grid for approximately 250 euro per megawatt hour. So it's a very attractive price, as you understand, for the power. Lithium is what it is on the market. And then the heat varies a bit if you do it with a municipality for district heating, or if you would sell it to the process industry. So I would say price ranges there is between 40 to 60 euro per megawatt hour into it. So a unit like this would have some 30 megawatt heat on 40 to 60 megawatt price euro, and you have some 500 tons of lithium on market price, and then you would have some 250 euro per megawatt hour power produced. So that's the structure into it. So other than the strong support on the tariff, German government are supporting first the preparatory work. So right now they cover 50% of all our preparatory costs, up to €1 million per project. They are then, when you get into a project like this, participating, and there are currently programs where they also indicate that they will come in and support with underwriting funding or possibly even funding on the projects. They will definitely support in when you drill, as you said, a hole like this, and you are hopefully very sure that it will work, but it could, of course, still go wrong. Then Germany have said, we put an insurance on the first production drill, or each first production drill, I would say. So if it would go wrong, that insurance would pretty much cover, if not all, at least some 90% of the cost. And then it's related to what output you get, if you get full, or if you could still use it for just district heating, and then there is a variation like in all insurances. But technically what you're saying that we are helping you then so that you take out the drilling risk, you'll insure that, and we will support you in the funding. And when that's going, then you build, and then when you deliver this plant for the district heating, they are subsidizing up to 40%. So if you look at what I said, some 50 million to get the heating plant working, it could be some 20 million in subsidy that we get from the government, reducing our cost for such a capex. So I would say extremely supportive, support the preparatory work, support to take out the risk, support on the funding, and then give a good subsidy when you're up and running. And then you're topping that if you do power on very favorable tariffs. We have also, if I would add to that, which I'm very pleased with, been able to team up with one of the leading geothermal developers, construction EPC partner, engineering, procurement, and construction, Kai-Shan, who is both developer and the construction party. They also have some several geothermal assets themselves, but they are then taking a full turnkey responsibility for building the on-surface plant after the drilling is done. And they have then agreed to a structure where they only charge 30% of that 30 million cost, i.e. some 10 million during construction. And then the last 70%, some 20 million, they will charge 6 months after they have delivered a fully functioning plant. So you take out the drilling risk with insurance and the financing, you take out the construction risk that the EPC partner carries that risk, and that's machinery, equipment, engineering that they defer. So from our perspective then, our net cost on this structure would be the 50 million. We would then aim for a 20 million subsidy and using that 20 million to pay the construction company 6 months later when everything has been really secured and fully operational and running. So I think we have a very attractive model in geothermal where we are in attractive market from geology, where with very attractive government supporting it strongly, and we're reducing drilling risk, we're reducing construction risk, and we have very favorable tariffs going forward. And then the plan is then to do a project like this, and when we have done the drilling, we'll start in the second project, the third project, so some 6 month delay to each of these 10 projects. So we have a pretty solid platform right now with 125 square kilometer, 12,500 hectare license area, where we see the potential for many years to have a good growth of this up to the 300 megawatt there. And in parallel to this then, of course, with Finland, even if we don't get the full development of Finland, even with a starting point with some 30%, there would be a solid cash flow. So when we go to fund the German assets, we do hope to have a combination of 3 things there. First of all, a very attractive market with all the subsidy supports and reduction of risks with insurances and German financing and so on. But then we have for the debt financiers also a cash flow from our Finnish entity to support the financing, and then a parent company listed at the London Stock Exchange at the highest premium on this. You bring a good quality of 3 pieces, we do hope, to be able to fund this step by step in the development of Germany. Definitely we do hope to bring more assets, of course, over time. And as soon as we're up and running on the first, I think we stand even stronger on different financing, if it's bonds or if it's other structures or whatever, to add more assets, primarily in the geothermal. In Germany, I would be happy to, but also in other markets, primarily in Europe to start with.
Very good. I mean, the need is obviously there, and from what you've described, I mean, if you're going to get 50 million euros to make the deal happen, basically your exposure seems to be in the region of 10 million euros of that before success occurs.
Yeah, well, I would even, sorry to interrupt you there, but I would say yes, 10 million is the first risk when we drill. Now, the first risk, of course, the million we've spent right now, but leave that aside. It's 10 million, but that's insured and probably with a pretty good underwriting. So then if we don't get what we want, of course, we're not going to do a re-injection well. So it is there pretty low risk, I would say, because when heat and the pressure is there, yes, then there is a plant. Then you have taken out the construction risk because the EPC partner is supporting on that one. So I think it's quite limited risk supported with a good cash flow out of Finland to show financiers that we can afford and we can roll this forward, because the future investments after the first 10 that's insured are relatively low risk, I would say.
Yeah, and I mean, the reality is then you're going to be building up to 100 megawatts, 200 megawatts, 300 megawatts as these things roll out, and that is going to produce an awful lot of free cash flow.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the whole system looks like it can make money. The reality is, as it stands at the minute, at a 40 million market cap, based on potential alone, you have come to the market very reasonably priced as far as I can see.
we think we have a good opportunity definitely in the market, and then see that if we deliver what we say, I think we'll have a hopefully pretty good story.
Yeah. Okay, great. We look forward to following that story over the coming weeks and months and years. But you're on the Sunday roast, so the question I have to pose you is, in the Lars Goldstrand household, what is a Sunday lunch?
Okay, I thought you would ask what is a Sunday roast. That's different than a Sunday lunch. But a Sunday lunch, a Sunday lunch is, I would prefer to do it as an Asian lunch on Sundays, but probably more on a Sunday dinner than a lunch. And the Sunday roast is totally different, but that's what we're doing internally in the family, roasting each other.
You would have Asian food more on a Sunday than anything else?
I love Asian crossover, definitely.
And
otherwise it would probably be Italian pasta or something.
And by Asian food, what are we discussing? We have to be more specific than this.
No, I would say a mix of an Asian crossover, a little bit Japanese, a bit Chinese, a bit Vietnamese. Yeah, anything from chicken to fish to shrimps or whatever.
Very good.
And curry and others, yeah.
Yeah, sounds interesting. And I like that stuff as well, for sure. From the point of view of advice, the other question we always ask everybody is, what is the best advice you've ever received in any part of your life, and who was it from?
I think the best advice, I haven't really thought about it like this, but what comes to mind would be I wouldn't call it a mentor, but someone that I felt was a mentor, even if he was not fully aware of it possibly. But he said to me once, Lars, to make success and to really be able to drive the business, you need to focus on the expansion, the opportunities and the possibilities, but make sure that you have one guy that is your funeral entrepreneur, that sees all the risk, all the obstacles, everything that could go wrong, so that you can focus on the growth, because then you secure both the growth and that you don't go wrong on a lot of things. And I think that's a good advice, because if you need to hold back, then you lose the opportunities. And if you're too wild and crazy, you might build something in the sky, but you'd never be able to realize it, because there will be a lot of cracks and things at the bottom of it. So I think it's a combination of being able to grow and then have people that both support but also are able to solidify what we are doing to minimize risk and still be able to harvest the opportunities.
So as entrepreneurs, we need that naysayer in the room to say, this could go wrong, this could go wrong, this could go wrong, this could go wrong. And I think you're right. I think that's really good advice, because often the entrepreneur only sees the rosy way forward without the potential pitfalls. So yeah, that's really good advice, and I think it's true as well. Even me personally, as a visionary and someone who I like to think of the positives in terms of how this can work, we also seem to look at the negatives. And bringing that back to, I'm going to try and pronounce it, Cindrigo. It seems that you've tried to cover all the bases in terms of the negative side of things that could go wrong, whether that be insurance, whether it be the government helping you to do it, etc., etc. So there is a lot of areas covered there that we've discussed, and probably would
if I would add to that, sorry to interrupt you there, but I think there is another component that's often missed out, not often, but sometimes. It's the people and the experience around it. I think we have a very solid, experienced board that has a good track record and a good mix to meet what we are doing, with our chairman, former Minister of Energy in Sweden. We know the political and the energy side. He has also been chairman in large energy companies in Europe. We have the former deputy CEO of one of the larger energy companies and the former group CFO, and that we've been able to recruit both as a director and our group CFO. We have people with good experience on controlling financial listing, with an experience in the audit and the finance industry, been heading up a lot of global groups, at least a global part of them, anything from BDO to Mazars and others, and probably been involved in, I think, close to 40 listings where he's been the reporting auditor and others. And then we have the new technology with Alan, who I was actually number 32 recruited to Microsoft, headed up development, and he is the one that has developed our household brands like Excel, PowerPoint, Word, Microsoft Office, heading up the acquisition team of Microsoft. And now for the latter period, worked a lot with Smart City, which is the clean city, how to use the energy and how to develop. And then also with business background, probably me and some others. And our main investor, chairman of them, is also on the board. So I think we have what needed both to see how it should be done, how it's managed and secure it. And we have a team that has built plenty of geothermal plants and been involved in building waste plants and operating them. So we have, I think, the most important thing we have. As an old professor I had in Denver University said, you could, with the right team, you could get anything to work. And with the wrong team, you could destroy anything, how good it would be. So I think we have the asset, we have the portfolio, and we have the people. So I'm quite pleased with where we stand, and also now with the London listing as a platform for continued growth.
Yeah, I've no doubt you'll attract many investors over the next while. And yeah, as I say, anyone who's interested, CINH is the ticker. Thanks for your time, Lars, and I look forward to speaking to you in the future.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so let's have a look at some of the movers and shakers of the week. I mean, I was away Friday, so I've had to compile this from SharePad. But basically, from what I can see, the top mover on the week was GeneDrive, GDR, up some 122%, based on the news that they announced a memorandum of understanding with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia Ministry of Health to introduce the GeneDrive MT-RNR-R1 ID kit under Generations Here program. So good news on there, a big uptick on that MOU. Another one is Anemoi International, AMOI, up 90% on the week. They signed a non-binding term sheet to acquire Trasna Solutions Technologies in a reverse takeover valued at up to £150 million to be paid entirely in new Anemoi shares at 2p each. So nice to see an RTO moving stock there. Yeah, and the next one is Anglesey Mining. They're down some 45% on the week. They announced that the resolutions at the general meeting were not passed, meaning the proposed capital reorganisation will not proceed, and consequently the company cannot access funds under its conditional equity financing facility with Alumni Capital Limited. The board have warned that this leaves Anglesey with limited funding options and significant uncertainty regarding its ability to continue as a going concern. Directors will now seek to conserve cash and urgently explore alternative financing, but note that failure to secure funding could result in the company entering administration. So sad news for Anglesey Mining there. I mean, they're a bit of a stalwart on the mining scene. But yeah, I mean, that's a big drop in a week, isn't it? 44%.
Yeah, obviously they turned down dilution from this finance company, and then subsequently they've been diluted anyway by the looks of things by a 50% drop or 45% drop in the share price. It's not good. Maybe the finance wasn't good. I don't know enough about it, to be honest with you. Yeah. But another finance that came on Friday afternoon or Friday morning, 11 o'clock, was for Bazant Resources. It's one of the things we've been waiting for. Yeah. £7 million in a prepaid takeoff agreement. What a fantastic finance deal. You've got also the Blackstone shares within the company. That basically means now they're funded to go and do Hope and Gorup themselves. Me doing back of a fact packet calculations, basically $36 million per annum on the current metal prices of free cash flow. And that's only if they only do the initial pits that they've got. That should last between 8 and 10 years. $36 million free cash flow per annum. You know, so what's £25 million? And the market cap at the minute is, £15 million, £16 million, £17 million. Just doesn't make any sense now. The valuation on Bazant now is bananas. It should be 3-4 times that.
I missed it actually. I was just saying to you before we started, but I was away on Friday, and I didn't know it had come in, but I was just reading it, and yeah, it looks like a good prepayment facility. This $7 million with the life of mine concentrate offtake agreement with this leading global commodities trader to obviously fund the development, as you say, of the Hope and Gorob copper project. Yeah, I saw that it had moved up in the day, but I think it ended almost flat from the previous day, straight around about the 0.105 mark. So I was a little bit shocked because you said the news had come, and I was like, has it? Because I haven't seen any. I would have expected a bit of an uptick on this, and I think you said we did get one, but it sort of, maybe it brought in Sell On News crew came in or whatever. But yeah, interesting one. What are the next steps then? Would we expect, Kev, from this once they've got this? Obviously it needs to go to approval at the general meeting because they've got to do this 90% of the NLZM plant acquisition to get that run through first. But what are the next steps?
Yeah, they need to order equipment. They need to get the large pieces that are required just to update the plant. As Colin said on one of our previous things, that the plant actually could quite happily process the copper right now, but they want to make it even better because it's going to be long-term useful. Yeah, and then get on with it, basically. I mean, I think we're going to have, mining happening very, very soon. Within the next few months, you're going to start to see. Don't forget, this isn't an underground mine. This is trucks and a digger, and digging it out, creating a pit, and Bob's your uncle. You're going to get copper pretty much from surface or not very far below the surface, and then it should be producing the concentrate. You've got gold, you've got silver, you've got copper coming out. And then, if you remember when we visited it, you've got 17 kilometers of strikes, things that were all along the line, if you remember, that were basically saying, here's potentially another pit, here's potentially another pit, here's potentially another pit, all the way along. But there was potentially pits of this copper all the way along this 17-kilometer strike. And that's what they're going to be going after, to try and create 500,000 tons of contained copper. So my view is that this is just the beginning, and the potential for it to be worth hundreds of millions is there, and should come to fruition.
Very good. Yeah. What about the wider markets? I mean, I'm feeling there's a little bit of, I don't know whether it's apprehension, whether the little bit of liquidity has been sucked out of the market. Obviously, that we saw. Even though the FTSE, I'm talking in the small cap space, the FTSE 100 has gone bust through all-time highs again. It seems to be doing this, it topped around about 9787 on Wednesday before closing on Friday at about the 9717. Gold is hovering around the 4,000 an ounce, silver around the 44-45 mark, and Bitcoin climbed to around $109,000. So copper had a solid week as well, around the $11,000 per ton. But I mean, what do you think we're going to see? Obviously, we saw a big spike in gold. We saw a big spike in silver. It softened off a bit. Bitcoin seems to have just really cooled off. But obviously, as I said, FTSE's doing really, really well. It seems like almost every week now we bust through all-time highs. Do you think it's going to hit through the 10,000 before a budget, or do you think we're going to have a bit of a shock at the next budget?
I don't know. I think there's a lot of cash on the sidelines because of the budget. So I think people want to know what the situation is, and then subsequently, I think the money's going to start flooding back in. I genuinely think, and it's not just on a hope and a maybe, I genuinely think we're going to have a massive Santa rally. I think we're going to have a real liquidity move into lots of risk assets. I'm not saying it's necessarily going to last, but I think we're going to have quite a situation. If you look what's happening in America, a lot of the shares are massively overvalued as far as I can see, but there's still a long way to go as far as I can see. And I've got a whole list of things which I think are going to do well. We've got Energy Pathways now, which is completely cashed up and ready to rock and roll. There's been some shenanigans going on there, without doubt. Somebody's trying to hold it down. We've had one of the things that I'm very excited about is the Tau and the subnets, and we've got Tiger and also Astrid, both owning subnets in the UK, both basically undervalued in terms of just whatever metrics you want to look at it. Astrid for sure, even in the crypto that they've got and the cash, they're about 55-60%. They're creating Tau all the time. Tau's on a rip, and also Tau's going to have a halving event, which normally means that the next sort of 12 months you're going to see the price escalate. So I'm very excited about that, and I'm even more excited about Amazing AI, which we've got an interview lined up with Paul next week on Tuesday, and I'm hoping that's going to be the start of them putting the plan into place, which is to put the option market in place for access to a huge number of Bitcoin and potentially other cryptos. So on the crypto space, I think those things are going to do incredibly well. Do I think Bitcoin's going to go up? Yes, I do, actually. Believe it or not, I think Bitcoin is going to have quite.
I think it's going to have another run, to be honest, and I think it's going to go on a tear. But I just don't know what the trick, I mean, there's no one. I guess you could argue no one knows unless there's another event that triggers it, whether it be a trade tariff thing. It seems to be sometimes Trump opens his mouth regarding these things, and we see a spike in gold prices. If it's something regarding a trade, it cooled off on the fact that they announced that it was going to have talks with Xi Jinping, and we've seen gold cool off because it's always been that kind of hedge against geopolitical risk or tensions or trade tariffs. But yeah, I mean, I'm shocked at things like coin at 4p. Obviously we've talked about coin in yellow and everything. Smarter Web Company, I mean, at 60p it looked cheap. Now at 53.5 pence, it looks really cheap, in terms of the MNAV being probably around 0.9 pence, and coin's probably on a very similar area there. And as you say, HAMAC has moved up, I think, 22% on the week. Astrid looks to be moving up as well. Amazing AI have had a good week, around 15% up. VLRM have had a good week as well. Yeah, I think there's some movers, and I think, as you say, even Tiger Royalties.
I'm intrigued about that VLRM one because they're the one who are doing the sort of the staking, aren't they? It's like tokenizing of different things. And the one connection with VLRM that I'm even more interested in is First Class Metals, because they started to do something with VLRM, didn't they, in terms of tokenizing some assets. So I think this whole area of the blockchain isn't going away, and AI definitely isn't going away. I mean, I read some and watched some rather scary things about what we're all heading towards in terms of AI.
Yeah,
but we've seen this week huge job losses announced in Amazon and in Microsoft and in different companies, because they know themselves they don't need this many staff. Yeah. AI is going to take over many jobs and many things. I've been intrigued to watch eco buildings over the last few weeks as well, and I've been involved with them behind the scenes as well, speaking to Chris and Mike about some marketing things that we're going to be hopefully putting into place to raise funds, hopefully to benefit them, but also philanthropic stuff in terms of allowing some of these buildings to be built in third world countries that are going to hopefully help people. GenFlow is another one. We had shenanigans with them in terms of a raise happening, and then the raise took place. The share price went up. But I get the impression that raise was in advance of lots of other things coming. They've got a big grant coming for €4.5 million. They've got pet studies going on for that. Do you remember the study that we did on them when we followed them a few years ago? I think it was called SIXT or something, where basically they're taking the gene from the octogenarians, which is coming back to your grannies in a Lamborghini.
The CERT, wasn't it? CERT, yeah.
So this is almost improving people's lives in their 70s, 80s, 90s, 100s, so that not only can we live longer, but we can live better. And if this actually kicks off, I still think that the potential for this is bananas, right? It could be, a huge uplift in terms of what's happening. Whether it'll happen or not, who knows? Coming back to your gold and silver, I think it's taken a breather, but I don't think it's stopped by any stretch. We're not suddenly thinking, oh, gold's going to go to 3,000. If it does, it'll be momentarily, I think, and then go back up again. Silver, I think you said 44 to 45, but it never went that low. It's 48, 49 now. And don't forget, that is the paper price of it. We've had this conversation before, because the actual physical price of it is way higher. It's maybe more like $70 already to buy the physical, especially in the UK when you have to add VAT onto it. So I don't see anything stopping that. I think silver's going to go basically on the paper side of things, maybe $70 or $80. But physically, it's going to be well over $100 without doubt. In my view, I can't see how it's going to stop, because we do have a changing of the guard. The dollar is deteriorating. Finally, after talking about it for 2 or 3 years, it is now deteriorating, and maybe it won't happen overnight, but it'll happen maybe 10% this year, 10% next year, so on and so forth. And subsequently, that means gold prices are going to go up, silver prices are going to go up. Probably Bitcoin and other cryptos are also going to go up, because it's an alternative to fiat currencies. I mean, I watched something on Facebook to hear about the digital euro. It's coming in 2026 as a test, and then subsequently will be in place completely by 2029. Total control. Do you want to have your digital euro controlled by the European Central Bank, or do you want to have Bitcoin? Because it's going to be a choice, and this one they'll know everything about, and this one they won't know anything about, or they will know something about it, but they won't be able to control it because it'll be autonomous. So yeah, and that's the other reason why, coming back to the subnets and Tau, I believe that this is going to be another Bitcoin, mainly run by the developers, and the developers and the people with the brains in terms of the AI want to get wealthy from what they're doing. And that's why I think the Tau is going to work, or the bit and saw. So yeah. The other thing that happened during the week was that we got we got bot attacked in our Bazant group twice.
Yeah, that was incredible. And in the end, I deleted it because I was like, I can't handle it. It's just ruined. So I'm going to set up another Bazant. I've actually had a few people ping me the link and saying, "Can you send me the link for it?" So this week,
but I'll stop you there, because I asked Big Dan, to set up a Bazant group, and he's done it. So if you want to search online, if you've read this now on the Telegram groups, Dan's set up a group and people have started to join it. So I hope he's put the security in place, and yeah, there you go. So Dan set that up. He's going to be the owner, and yeah, let's see how it all goes.
Okay, well, get it shared, but don't create too many group links, and make sure it's private group, because that, I think when it goes public and it's shared on the likes of X, you can get the old bot attack. But what a challenge that's been. The slump for slot. Tell me a little bit what's going on, mate, at your beloved Liverpool.
I don't know, mate. I don't have a good answer, other than I don't even want to make excuses, but I think first 5 games of the season we were fortunate, and since then we have been pretty unfortunate, but we also haven't played very well. So yeah. By the time this goes out, we will know whether Aston Villa have done the business against us or not.
And we've got Forest as well, so that'll be an interesting one.
Yeah, and Manchester United.
Old Sean Dyche. I mean, his first game in charge there, he was a loss. They were already saying, "Get him out." I mean, yeah,
unbelievable. I mean, United are pertaining to be back in the story, but I think the story is going to be about Arsenal bottling it again, no?
Yeah.
Because they've got a fantastic opportunity now. Obviously, Liverpool's not out of the equation, but it's not looking good. Manchester City's up and down. Their closest challengers right now is Bournemouth and Spurs, isn't it? So you wouldn't.
Yeah, and when you see the likes of Sunderland, who were at second, and then obviously they dropped down to think like fourth or something, it's incredible. Some of the teams that are at the top of the league.
You would have got some odds on Arsenal, Bournemouth, Tottenham, Sunderland as the top 4 at the end of October.
Yeah, and the Formula One's looking good. I mean, it's wide open still. Like Lando Norris has done remarkably well. We saw him win in the US. recently. We've obviously got, I think it's 4 races left. We've got Sao Paulo, Brazil on the 7th to the 9th. We've got the Las Vegas, we've got Qatar, and then the final race is at Abu Dhabi. And it really is wide open there. He's leading the championship with this very slim margin. I think he's got a 1-point lead over Oscar Piastri, and he's got a 36-point buffer over Max Verstappen. Great victory at the Mexico Grand Prix. Strong statement of form and confidence. But what do you think? Who do you feel is going to take it? Because you can never rule Verstappen out, as we've said before. But I think I'd love to see Lando take it. I really would.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see Lando Norris take it as well. But I'm not counting Max Verstappen out. I'm definitely not. I mean, I think he's going to have some luck outside of him driving and trying to win the next X. How many Grand Prix are there? 3 left?
4 left.
4 left. I think he's going to have to win them all, and or at least finish second. But those guys are going to have to finish behind him in every race, obviously. But it's definitely doable, isn't it? It's possible, and he's the best driver in possibly even our lifetime. I think.
Yes.
You look about Senna, Prost, all of the amazing drivers, but I think he's better. I think he is.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's the best we've seen, and yeah, definitely.
Even Hamilton on his day was a fantastic driver, but I still don't think he's as good as. I mean, the thing with Verstappen is, he's a love-hate situation, isn't it? Because he's very obnoxious about driving.
He's aggressive. He's brutal. He doesn't, he takes chances. But that's what you need to be, right? To be a race driver, to be a winner.
Yeah, isn't that what the public actually wants to see as well?
Exactly. He puts theatre back into it. I mean, a lot of the Hamilton fans obviously absolutely detest the guy because of the way he, remember the run-ins he used to have with Hamilton, where he literally would run him off the track. But yeah, I love his driving style, and he makes. I was watching some of the in-car footage. I think it was from the US, and he makes it look easy. The way he carries the speed into the apex. Once he gets that clear air ahead, mate, honestly, I just love it. I could watch him drive all day long. He's just an amazing driver. So, yeah, I've got a big fan of Verstappen. But, yeah, 36 points, not out the question. But, yeah, let's see. So, it's going to be an exciting end to the season, which is what we need.
Yeah, but there's no Grand Prix this weekend, is there? Or
no, it's the following weekend, yeah.
It's Brazil next weekend, is it?
Yeah, Sao Paulo.
Okay, very good. So, yeah, let's see what happens. Yeah, let's hope Liverpool wins some games before next weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's been an action-packed show. If you like what you heard, please do subscribe. Hit the bell icon for future notifications of further episodes, and have a great weekend all.
Yep. Thanks for listening, guys.
This podcast was brought to you by Roast PR Limited. If you would like to appear on a future episode of The Sunday Roast, please email admin@thesundayroast.net